In this short video, I want to talk about ways that you can open your paper. And there are going to be more strategies than the ones I list right now, and I'm not working even with a particular example in mind, but in general, if I can give you a couple of these, then you can pick one. I think if you just focused on one, the exit strategies can be combined with each other effectively. I think, in my opinion, I think that choosing one opening strategy and developing it tightly and fully, but not giving it too much textual space. You know, I mean, you don't want your opening to go for a page and a half or 2 pages, you know, but you do need to maybe think of it going for a half page or more. And if it's properly developed and it has that cohesion and unity, it could be very strong. Now, one of the keys for any opening is that it must, you know, grab the reader's attention in a way that doesn't put any obstacles before the reader as he or she tries to assess your work. In other words, there are some openings that are so brash or so in your face or so colloquial or slangish or so abrasive sometimes that it actually starts turning the reader off. All right, so you want to maintain a professional tone, you want to maintain a familiar and friendly, you want to present at the beginning at least a friendly environment and give the reader items and things that he or she might be familiar with. Now, here are some strategies. One, let's call it the real life scenario, where you actually you find online somewhere or in your reading, wherever, or you may refer to, in this case, a movie. So now, what I mean by real life is that it could actually be a real historical event. I think those are the strongest, but if it is a fictionalized event that people can understand because it's part of our culture, like an opening of a certain movie or of a certain story or of a certain TV persona, that might also work too. So that would be real life in the sense that it is an artifact in real life, and it's using material and people and characters that your real life audience is going to be familiar with. But I would say you might want to stick with an historical event if you can find it. So to talk about our topic here, you would find interesting, relevant stories that are newsworthy, that have been circulated, that discuss people or things actually involved in a certain scenario or time or place happening, that well illustrates the importance of our topic that we've chosen or the major concerns that people have about this topic. So that would be one way to open it. You know, just try to find a good illustration in real life that could alert your reader to the specific focus we're going to carry out in this paper. So the real life scenario. Another one might be an amazing statistics or an astounding, let's see, no, let's stick with statistics. Well, and let me alliterate it. Okay, surprising statistic, and this is also a factoid, and you know, it's been established by some study or at least suggested, and you know, if 75% of the population over 50 do X, Y, or Z, you might want to open with that. You know, some sort of eye opener. Maybe if you're talking about you know, people's consumption of sugar or something like that. You're going to talk about nutrition in your writing, and you open up with the fact that 80% of the people have more than 40 grams of sugar by 12 o'clock in the day. Well, that's pretty incredible, you know. And I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just, you know, some sort of a surprising stat. Okay, you grab somebody's attention, and it kind of like, it would be like making the reader think, how in the world can that be? That's so, I didn't realize that. And they start reading to try to figure out how you're wrong, or how they misunderstood you, or something like that. And then, you know, if this is actually an established statistic, you can play with it and reel in the reader to your topic. Okay, so the surprising statistic would be our second opening strategy. Now, continuing this crazy vein of alliteration, I'll break away from it after this, I hope. What about the astounding anecdote? All right. So maybe you have a story or a legend, you know, and you know, you don't really know whether or not this is true, but it really makes a good story, and you know, you've seen it around, you've heard it around. So for example, you know, apparently Churchill, when he was younger in college, I believe, lost a watch that one of his relatives, older relatives, important relatives, had given him, and he was, and I don't know, so embarrassed to have lost it, or so concerned that he lost it in a lake, and apparently he drained the lake to find the watch. He somehow maneuvered the draining of the lake. Now, you know, what does that illustrate? The tenaciousness, the never give it up-ness of Winston Churchill, the bulldog qualities, you know, that people say helped him be the leader we needed in World War II for England. Pretty incredible, you know. I'll share another one of my favorite anecdotes. Perhaps I've already shared this with you. I'm full of repeating myself, perhaps ad nauseum, but let's get going and get it over with. Alexander the Great was traveling through the Far East, through the lands he had recently conquered, and on a small road, his whole entourage and army, he was in front of his army, but they were all on this road, and there was a group of monks sitting on the road, meditating, and the herald of Alexander the Great got off his horse and went and tried to get the monks to make way. And the herald told the monks, "Get off the road. Don't you know that the conqueror of the world is here?" And one of the monks looked up at the herald, a bit surprised and amused, and said, "But I have conquered the need to conquer the world." And when Alexander the Great heard this, he got off his horse and walked and led his own horse and his entourage, and thus the army, around the still sitting group of monks to the other side of the road, and off they went. So, you know, what does that story illustrate? A great man's understanding of his own slavery to ambition, his understanding that that was his greatest invincible foe, himself. You know, I particularly enjoy, I think it illustrates a lot of things, and I might open up something about that concerning maybe the insight of great leaders or something. I don't know what I'm writing about, but now, but the thing about this is that, you know, do we really know? This is sort of a legend. It's astounding if it's true, but, you know, don't shy away from that if, in fact, it opens up your writing well. If it's apocryphal, if it's an anecdote, if it's just a story that you've heard, maybe semi-legend, semi-whatever, just that's fine. You know, people will understand that sort of, you're drawing an analogy, or you're just presenting an opening. It's not necessarily situated in real life, but it's a really good story. So, you know, opening up with a good story like that, a good famous story. I think that would be a good one. What about number 4? What about personal experience? Now, this is also a closing strategy, an exit strategy. But yeah, I think if you have in your history someone, you know, or you that has struggled with something, or has experienced something, or has overcome something related to your topic, I mean, you just have a really neat experience that you know, you think can really pull the reader in. It relates to your topic closely. It illustrates something eventually you're going to cover. Now, I would not use this as evidence in your work, because you're just one voice, and how do you know you're representative of any group? You need to establish it more closely in terms of surveys or polls or experiments, probably surveys or polls or other interviews, at least in that sense, so that you know, when you start accumulating numerous voices echoing your own, then you can use that as evidence, right? Strength in numbers here. Or unless you're an authority on the issue, then you can use your own voice. But even then I wouldn't, because see, you're the author of the paper trying to prove a thesis or a best practice. You're going to be biased toward that, and if you use yourself as evidence, you might be misconstruing it a bit or over exaggerating it or something. But personal experience can certainly be a strong tool to open with at the beginning. So I would definitely not hesitate to do that. Now, the fifth opening strategy that I want to throw out at you is this notion of opening with a major question, okay, or a string of questions. But the idea is you're going to hit the reader right off the bat with some major questions like, what do you think about, or are you prepared for, or what are you going to do if, what would you do if, and one of, whatever question you use, it should be a question that is okay. It should be a question to which your thesis is the answer. All right, or to which your thesis is part of the answer. So it's got to be a pertinent question about your topic, one that you know is going to establish your topic in the mind of the audience as relevant, pertinent, important, worth questioning over. So those five opening strategies, they're more than five, but I'm sure there are many more ways to open a paper, but I think that's enough for you to use one of these. If the five I've just given you, one, I think, pick one that, well, I should say you have a really good chance of finding one that you feel you are particularly suited to employ. All right, just remember that you want to, the two cardinal rules of an opening, right? You want to grab the reader's attention, but number one, but you want to do it in a way that does not begin to quietly or tacitly put up obstacles in the reader's psyche or in the background of his mind or her cognitive landscape. It doesn't begin to clutter up that landscape. So you don't want to threaten or shock or sound abusive or abrasive or sound overly pedantic or weighty. It's got to be tooled a little bit. All right. Now, in terms of what we've written already, okay, you can look at your opening now and say, does this actually work? It might, right? And what we did is, in fact, we provided a funnel, right? A funnel opening. Now, what I'm suggesting to you here is that you consider something above the funnel that introduces readers to your general topic. Okay, so think of the general topic we've got. That's how your funnel starts. In this case, I think it was investing. So we talked about investing, and then we worked our way all the way down to this one particular way that we're going to focus on because of the scope we have for analysis. We're just going to focus on one representative member of this class called ways to invest. But investing would be our general topic. So we opened up broad and then we brought it down. Okay, so now that is an opening. That's your funnel opening. But can you have a paragraph or two above that would just pull in the reader? A surprising statistic about investing, an astounding anecdote, a guiding question, a fundamental question about investing in general. That you ask the reader the question first, and the reader is beginning to try to engage the question, and then after a few lines the reader begins to realize, oh, this question is all about investing. Oh, this paper is about investing. Oh, this paper is about online discount stock trading done by an individual on his or her own. There you go. See, so let's tinker around with this, and definitely this work that we have ahead of us. Let's try to finish up the writing, and then tinker around with an opening and a closing. So I do encourage you to look at to think about these 5 opening strategies in partnership with the funnel. All right. And one of these 5 openings I suggest to you could really find its home above the funnel opening you already have, the funnel paragraph, the funnel section, where you start with your general topic, go to your narrow one. I think that would really serve as a more efficient way to open a popular piece of writing in conjunction with the funnel. Place one of these 5s above it, and we'll experiment and see how it works.